All right. Also, whoa. Sorry, you guys are hearing an echo. That's correct. That's what you guys should be hearing, right? Yeah, now you're good. Hello everybody. We're working! We're finally in this freaking state that I can't believe how many times I have lost power and just other shenanigans have come up. I don't understand. But we're here. And knock on wood that nothing happens. Can you hear me okay if you are watching? And now there's something that jumped in my eye. We're gonna have to talk about today. It has been officially 2 years since Activision Blizzard King joined Team Xbox. Has it worked out for the best? Has it not? What are some hypotheticals, like, if the transaction didn't happen, did they actually technically save Xbox? And what might we have wanted to have done if it didn't happen? And maybe just looking forward, since it did, what are some things that we might be able to expect, hope? 2 years, it's just a good evaluation period to decide and kind of get a good glimmer of some things. I have some examples. I have some examples of things that I've laid out, things that have been added to Game Pass, kind of summarizing what's been happening with the studios. Like, I've kind of compiled a lot of information for this live stream that it was gonna be a video, but I decided to just openly talk about it with you if you're watching live or if you're watching afterwards in the live replay. Either way, I appreciate you very much. Just like Supertone. Hello, sir. I can hear you fine. Thank you very much, sir. You know what I want to get ready is that old, there's a bright golden day on the meadow. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? The whole, you know, this whole thingy. We have to have this thing ready because, yeah. And you know, this is actually the perfect, right there, October 13th, 2023. So that's why I wanted to do this yesterday, but the fates didn't allow it. But first, before we begin, how's it going? What you up to? What you playing? What you watching? Any questions before we get started? I'm excited for this because I actually have some comments from you guys that I want to read. Oh my god, there's a new freaking Skeletor video. Oh, we should live react to this. We have to live react to this at the end. These are awesome. If you've never watched these are actually fantastic. Also, how come the YouTube chat doesn't come oh, that's why. There we go. Nah, we're not gonna have sweeps. But yeah, we're at the cusp of a lot, man. C2, I changed my comment after a couple hours. Yeah, what was that about? Oh, why do I see two things? Whoa. How come I don't understand that. Why is... Okay. Hello? I don't understand. Somebody put a message. Somebody put a message, because I'm confused why I am seeing, like... That chat is always so confusing. Anyway, I want to get... Xbox Wire, Activision joins Xbox. I want to get some of these things ready. Yep. The day it was posted, October 13th, 2023. Okay. Supertone's message went through. I don't know. Bethesda joins Xbox. Xbox Wire. Yep. March 2021. And this is going to be another reason I want to compare. This is another thing that we're going to be doing, is looking at comparing things with Bethesda. I think that's something really important to do, is like comparing the 2 years with Bethesda. What did we get? That's another thing that I wrote up. So there's going to be that direct comparison as well. So there's going to be like, I wanted this to be a video, but decided we just have to go all out in an open discussion. Like C2, my initial thought was Activision improved the financials so they weren't just declining every quarter. But the Eye of Sauron turning wasn't worth it, so I changed it. That's a good, see, that's what I'm curious about, is I didn't look into that, so maybe if anybody has an article, feel free to like at me on Twitter, or I don't think YouTube allows people to put links, but I would love a link to it to like did Activision joining Xbox really, like, technically speaking, save Xbox? Because I don't know. I don't know if that is true. There's maybe signs that they did, because Activision makes a lot of money. I want to open one more tab here before we get started, and that is your guys' comments. This is also important too. What do you think Xbox is going to discontinue first? If they do, there were some that are like neither. I'm just like, I'm not saying that for sure it's going to happen, just hypothetically. It's just a hypothetical question. That's all we do here. Is if one of these two were to happen, which is more likely. And it's overwhelmingly saying Xbox right now. But here are the comments. That's what I want. Cool. So I just want to read from those sometimes. Like this first one. Spankin' Robot. It was definitely worth it. And then Omega. The best acquisition remains Monolith Soft for Nintendo. It's a support studio for most of the best-selling Nintendo games on Switch, including Breath of the Wild, plus Xenoblade. That can give us Xenosa and Gear Revival like Bayonetta. It's an absolute win for Nintendo and JRPG fans. Yeah, so I'm going to bring you guys into this instead of it just being me rambling. Hello, Fusion. Howdy doody, Ranger Joe. But yeah, I don't know. Should I just get going? Or is there like a quick, like, first thing to hit? Because yeah, I mean, bringing C2 in for a moment, as a regular like C2, I freaking love how much you have to say about the big picture stuff. I appreciate you. So C2 said, you know, initially improve the financials, but it wasn't worth the Eye of Sauron changing. And now, like, this is what he means. Like, I deleted my comment. It was terrible from top to bottom and may lead to the death of Xbox hardware. So, you know, like, it may have improved their financials, but in the long run, not going to pay off. C2, Sony bought Insomniac for like $3. That has to be the best one. I would say, like overall, yes. Overall, yes. But I also wonder if it locked Insomniac into making like Marvel stuff. And I wonder if they wanted to do that. You know what I mean? Like I get worried that they might have wanted to make other stuff, but PlayStation was like, whereas a lot of the studios, I mean, we could just get into it. A lot of the studios that Xbox has acquired, I feel like they've been making a lot of the stuff that they've wanted to make. Not all the time, but sometimes. But overall, in terms of like a studio getting good backing and sticking around, yeah, Insomniac's a good one, even though they did get hit with a lot of layoffs. Fusion, how you been other than power? Yeah, the power situation was a bitch. I was really mad at that. Hasn't been said that Xbox is pretty hands-off when it comes to the development of their games. Fusion, we're going to talk about that, because I think because the whole thing of the stream is we're going to be kind of evaluating how much has Activision Blizzard King improved since joining Team Xbox in ways, or declined. Has Xbox changed with Activision joining Xbox? Is it the hands-off culture you're talking about? I truly believe that was a thing before Activision. Is it still around? There's a lot of things that I'll be like diving into here that I've kind of compiled. I'm just checking with the viewers really quick to make sure you feel like you're heard, you're seen, because you are part of this since I'm doing this live. Rocket, Microsoft corporate was hoping the acquisition went through so they could have a reason to take control and raise prices. C2, they still make Ratchet and Clank. Do they, though? Do they? Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was in 2021. That was an amazing game. And since then, we got Spider-Man 2. And Wolverine's coming. So, what's up? The 5 years following Ratchet & Clank, what's up? I don't know. I just hope, basically, I just hope that they're making games that they want to make. Fusion, I feel like everyone forgets King in general. I know, man. Like the whole conversation, and that's going to be a point I bring up is just a lot of what has Xbox done with the studios and IP that they acquired with Activision. So that is indeed a thing. King is here. The power is back. Thank God. Thank God, man. I fell so behind this week because of that. All right. Let's kind of just get started with some things. Maybe I could go one thing at a time and see what you guys think as I go. I'm not sure how I want to do this because initially this was going to be like a 15-20 minute talk. And I recorded it 3 times. The first time I recorded it, the power went out literally mid-recording. The second time I recorded it, I felt like I was too long-winded. And the third time I recorded it, I didn't feel like I was concise. So I just decided, you know what? This is a live stream. Like this is just going to be a live stream. It just has to be. I want people involved and have a discussion about it. I would love your takes as I go. I'll do my best to maybe mention some things in the chat as I go. But maybe we could like stay on, in fact, maybe I could, well, I don't have a pinned message. The title says it all. So, also, is the music loud? The music looks like it's at a pretty good level. You guys let me know before we begin. Trust the power of UPS. Uninterrupted power supplies. Paragon, it's okay. Also, Paragon, what's up? Yeah, because I have a little bit of music in the background. I don't know if you guys can even hear it. Curious if you do hear it and if you recognize it. Okay. Paragon says it's okay. I'll trust Paragon. So, anyhow, Xbox is now a third-party publisher. It's over. That's something we're gonna get it to. So anyways, if you're just joining, I'm gonna record this. Why not? If you're just joining, we're talking about how Xbox, Activision, Blizzard, King, they joined forces exactly 2 years ago as of today. Like I have the old, there's a bright golden day on the meadow. I have that trailer rolling here, and this was posted October 13th, 2023. So the anniversary was yesterday. I tried to go live yesterday and it didn't work out. But yeah, Activision Blizzard King joined Xbox 2 years ago in what was the biggest acquisition in all of gaming, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But for reference, Disney bought freaking Fox Entertainment for like as much money as Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard King. Xbox bought Bethesda for $7.5 billion. They bought Activision for $69 billion. That's insane. Billions. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up today is because a lot of these acquisitions, we don't really usually get the benefits until a couple years later. Like I see Alexander, new name for Microsoft Gaming coming soon, unfortunately. It does. It feels like Microsoft Gaming lately, but I have a potential other approach to that. But I bring this whole thing up because I want to figure out if there is like, if it is all just doom and gloom, because I feel like it's been a lot of doom and gloom for Xbox lately and a lot of positives. As much as people might hate to admit it, a lot of positives have come from this acquisition. And I want to think about potential hopeful things to end this on. But for reference, previously, we have had examples of 2-year payoffs, okay? So like Ninja Theory, for example. When Xbox got Ninja Theory in 2018, they revealed Hellblade 2 the following year. And it was going to be like a Series X exclusive that was going to launch the system and everything. Obsidian was bought in 2019, same year Hellblade 2 was teased. And then the following year, they teased Avowed. And then the year after that, they teased Outer Wilds 2. And freaking had an early access of Grounded, and there was something. Why do I say EA here? Oh, I don't know. There was Outer Worlds DLC. Like, Ninja Theory and Obsidian were two studios that, like, right off the bat, like within the year or two of getting purchased, it's like, oh, this is what we're doing with these funds now. Double Fine was acquired in 2019, and then they released Psychonauts 2 in 2021 because they finally had the fundings to finally push it. Even Bethesda, that's when Xbox was like, all right, let's lay off the studios and let's just go for freaking publishers. Because I think this is a point that a lot of people might sleep on, and I think this goes with Activision Blizzard as well. When you get a publisher, you get IP. When you buy Bethesda, you get Elder Scrolls. When you buy Bethesda, you get Doom. When you buy Bethesda, you get Wolfenstein. You get IP that could potentially sell. And so that's the difference with going on a publisher. Sometimes it comes with studios as well, because the studios hold the intellectual rights. But when Bethesda got acquired in 2021, you got to see 2021 and 2023 Xbox Game Pass. The day they dropped a trailer for freaking Bethesda, I don't even know if it's in this article, but I'm assuming, we'll expand the diverse portfolio. I'm pretty sure that day they added like 20 games to Xbox Game Pass. I could be wrong. If it wasn't that day, it was within the week. Okay, so when Bethesda got bought, the immediate benefits we saw was back catalog came to Game Pass, and within like the first 2 years of them being a part of Xbox, we saw Starfield release as a big exclusive for Xbox, Hi-Fi Rush as an exclusive for Xbox, Redfall, you know, and of course ESO and Fallout 76 joining like just Game Pass catalog, and you know, players getting to have that. Not to mention Undead Labs, State of Decay 3 announced in 2020, 2 years after they got acquired, and so on. And so that's why I bring up, after like 2 years, you start to at least get ideas of, hey, this is what we're going to do next. This is what we're doing now that we're part of Xbox and that we got their backing. Or this is what Xbox is doing with the IP that we got. So I'm just saying, like, I think 2 years is a good idea to like at least get a glimpse of the future, at least previous ones. But before I continue, Fusion, does ZeniMax own any companies other than Bethesda? Because Microsoft got the entirety of ZeniMax. Yeah, ZeniMax, Bethesda, same thing. So, they maybe have something else, but I can't recall. I'm just thinking about video games right now. And Paragon, forget that comment I meant. Satya has been messing a lot with the Division. He did the same to the mobile side of Microsoft. I recall the reports that Phil and his team were being sidelined, and C2 Tango was part of ZeniMax. Yeah. Now, granted, as C2 brings up Tango, I'm talking about the first 2 years. Okay, so I'm talking about, because we're evaluating the first 2 years of Xbox. Xbox with these various studios they got in 2018, what they did with the first 2 years with Bethesda. So I have no, like, you know, we could evaluate what goes beyond the 2 years, but I think it's fair to just focus on what was the first 2 years of those things like, because that's all we could evaluate with the Activision stuff. So, what is the number one benefit that you guys think that was, like, when Activision Blizzard got announced for Xbox? I think they announced the acquisition in January 2022. I was on the fence about it. And I'm curious, like, where you guys sat with it, but after simmering on it, I was like, you know, even though this feels much more like Bethesda felt like an Xbox acquisition, Activision felt like a Microsoft acquisition. And I didn't know what they were going to do with it. All I knew is that for me, the player, what was the thing that enticed me to get on board? Fusion. Game Pass. So that was what it was. When it was announced, I'm like, I'm super all aboard Game Pass. When, like, literally, because Xbox acquired Bethesda, I was kind of through the moon, because even though I'm not too much of a Bethesda person, I loved the idea that I could try out so many games that I hadn't played and whatnot. And now with Activision, I could play the Call of Duty campaigns. I could play some Crash Bandicoot. I could play all these things, especially Diablo 4, because I played the open beta for it. I'm like, damn, this game's fun. But Fusion, why buy COD every year when they'll be on Game Pass? Exactly. Like, that's the thing. Like, it would make a lot of people like me that never really touched COD touch COD. Now, did that work? Well, we'll get to that. But here's what we got in the first 2 years regarding that benefit. We got a really slow backlog. Okay, and by backlog, I'm talking about like what Bethesda did. Bethesda, within like the first week of being officially joint with Xbox, we got like freaking 20 of their games. And I think the following month, we got another 20 of their games. Activision Blizzard, we got nothing. Nothing for months. One of my most viral videos is in January, which was 3 months after the deal closed. I had this theory, and I'm like, oh my God, all the games are on sale. That probably means they're trying to sell as much as they can before they add this whole back catalog to Game Pass. That theory was wrong. That theory was wrong because what it became was a slow drip feed. And cool things, but it was a slow drip feed of things like the Spyro trilogy, the Crash trilogy, a weird release schedule for Modern Warfare, the Modern Warfare reboot, because they released like Modern Warfare 3 first, and then a few months later, Modern Warfare 2? They couldn't just go 1, 2, 3. They had to go backwards for some reason. Very recently, they released the World War II campaign. They also have Diablo 1, 3, and 4. Interesting that they don't have 2, which is a lot of people's favorite Diablo. Fascinating. And they had like Crash Nitro and Rumble Team. But the only day ones we have gotten, remember earlier I said like Bethesda, for example, we got Hi-Fi Rush, we got Redfall, we got Starfield. Believe it or not, actually, Activision actually had about the same amount. I mean, we're a month out from the third one, but really the only thing we've gotten is Black Ops 6 in terms of a major release. Black Ops 6 is the only one. If you want to count Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake remaster, that's 2. In terms of like a day one brand new release. And Black Ops 7 is around the corner. But it doesn't really feel like that's a lot in terms of the day one benefit. And then, of course, the kicker. July 2024, 8 months after the acquisition closed, and 8 months later, after publicly stating we are not acquiring Activision to raise the price of Game Pass. 8 months later, Game Pass increased in price and went to $20, which was manageable. I think a lot of people, it put them on the fence about Game Pass, but they were still like, you know what, this is still fine. And then, of course, this month, they raised it to $30. But you get Fortnite Crew and you get Ubisoft Plus and such, but it's $30 now. And we've talked about that already. We've talked about that a lot. But I just bring this whole thing up because that's the Game Pass route, okay? Like, and the main thing, to be honest, I don't mind that like Black Ops 6 is the only like big day one release we've gotten. Again, we're a month out for Black Ops 7, but I don't mind that that's really the only big thing, like Tony Hawk as well. The main thing that bugs me is the back catalog. I genuinely want to ask you that question. Like if you're watching right now, give your take on that. Why is the back catalog for Activision being handled so differently than Bethesda's back catalog? It's being handled so differently. So differently that it almost feels like something had to have been like reported or known like as Activision joined Xbox and they're like, we can't do that. I'm really curious what you think about that. I'm gonna turn on my fan. Not a fan for me, for my camera. This old camera's getting hot. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pause after each of these to see what you guys think of each of these. Like Fusion Ultimate, I find has no value now. That Premium and Essential have cloud gaming, and those aren't 30, luckily. Yeah, like I think Premium and Essential are pretty gosh darn good deals if one's good for the back catalog. Alexander, it's 30 a month now. It's not worth it. Plus, COD is awful right now. Are we basing that off the beta? I hope that's based off of something, because I don't like when people say that when a game hasn't even come out yet. And I thought Black Ops 6 was awesome, personally. I thought Black Ops 6 was like full package, like one of the best games of the year. Maybe not like a... No, actually, it wasn't my top 10. Actually, I forgot about that. Dude, Surviving Prototype is the reason I'm happy about this acquisition, because Bobby Kotick canceled the third game and sidelined Radical Entertainment into being Activision Canada. Are they reviving Prototype? We're going to be talking about the IPs in a moment. But are they? Fusion Blizzard is all live service games now, so they don't release much new stuff. I want to talk about Blizzard in a moment, Fusion. Absolutely. Paragon. The cost for Game Pass at the moment is not sustainable for me, though. Going from 20 to 30 bucks has made a lot of people choose to stick to single purchases or free games. Yeah. Like, admittedly, that's what I did before Game Pass. I would just kind of buy, like, maybe 4 games a year, give or take. Sometimes it would be 3, sometimes it'd be 7, you know, but it'd usually be around that 4, maybe 5 area. But yeah, like, you could probably do that now. Fusion, wait, why was Modern Warfare 3 not on Game Pass? Wasn't that after the purchase? Why was Modern Warfare 3 not... Oh, yeah, no, that's... Fusion brings up a good point. I think, that's a good point, actually. Let's look into that. Warfare 3. When did Modern Warfare 3 release? Not the original, but the more recent one. That's a good question. That released after the deal closed. I think it did. If I recall, it was pretty soon. I don't know if it was day one, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty soon. 3 on Game Pass. I'm pretty sure that was like Call of Duty. Okay, when was this trailer? Because I remember it wasn't like an individual announcement. It was on July 24th. That's really interesting. So it wasn't day one. See, this is what I mean. It's so weird. It's so weird. I mean, but this makes sense. July 24th. Remember what I said earlier? What I say earlier? What also happened in July of 2024? Anybody recall? That's weird. That's weird, but it also kind of makes sense. C2 because Game Pass isn't as profitable as people think, and Rocket, Bethesda games came out in PS Plus as well. Did they all? And did they release? Did Hi-Fi Rush, Redfall, and Starfield release day one on PS Plus? Back catalog, yeah, I'm sure a few got added to the back catalog over time. I don't know about like the 20 all at once. Paragon, the back catalog, maybe because they still have decent purchases from some of them and maybe some licensing issues like the Moon Studios games. FTC stuff, right? Yeah, so that's my theory, Paragon. I feel like Xbox... Well, first off, like, and I'm going to get to it, that Microsoft, they saw... When they got the... Like, when they put in the intent to acquire... Over time, when they start to see more and more of Activision's numbers, it's got to be a hard thing to be like, dude, these games are still selling well. I don't think we should put those on Game Pass. And it also doesn't help that Bobby Kotick was not a fan of Game Pass. The guy that was in charge of Activision, he was not a fan of Game Pass. And maybe that was a deal where it's like, hey, trust me, guys, we can't, like, don't add our stuff right away. And you'll see. Maybe we have to blame Bobby for it. Because maybe he was right, and they saw, like, how much more profitable it was just to keep them on sale, and that's what actually triggered it. Like, oh, wow. We're making a lot of money with this. Alexander, wasn't it revealed that Microsoft lost $300 million from Black Ops 6 being on Game Pass? That is supposedly what happened. It's a report, Alexander, that yes, Black Ops 6 even though it was the biggest Call of Duty of all time. Apparently, it lost $300 million in sales. To which that's probably why we're seeing a lot of the Game Pass stuff right now. So anyways, that's Game Pass talk. And I bring that up kind of first because that was the big benefit I personally was rooting for with this whole thing, is that back catalog. And we still haven't gotten it all after 2 years. Prototype! God, man. Or even just other freaking Infinite Warfare, the first Modern Warfare, or even just any 360 COD. What the hell? Why? Paragon, yeah, I feel like it's minuscule in the wider sales of the game, but you know how it is with these people. Yeah. Well, these people. Let's talk a little bit about the studios. I mentioned earlier how, like, right away you got to see, like, Ninja Theory announce a sequel to Hellblade. You got to see Obsidian, like, hey, not only are we working on our next big game, Avowed, we also have enough to spread around to handle a sequel to Outer Worlds. And that's just something that you get to see. And now the question is with basically the Microsoft gaming division, that's what Xbox is, seeing Xbox double in staff size, double in teams, and just doubling the amount of overhead costs overnight. How did that go? Anybody want to give a one-word answer? Because I definitely was hoping, you know, like there's a couple things I'm hoping. Like, I put myself back in this moment, and all these teams are joining. If there's anything I'm hoping, one, Toys for Bob is free. Toys for Bob gets to just freely make whatever games they want. They are not forced to make Call of Duty games. Not to mention freaking Raven Software. Raven Software, I think it's Raven. They are an awesome studio. I think they're the ones that did a really good Transformers game. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. And, you know, I was looking forward to that. Blizzard being, like, just Blizzard again instead of Activision Blizzard, that was the big one. Like, if you could put Blizzard, who were once like the peak of the mountain, that was the big thing. And I'm kind of actually happy to say a couple of those hopes seems to have come to fruition, just not the way I intended. But this is kind of what happened to the studios. We did get to see Blizzard get separated from Activision. And, you know, in that time, we haven't really gotten much from them. We just got Vessel of Hatred last year. And it seems like the past Xbox showcases, the past two of them, they just have a Warcraft trailer there. Even though that is very much for the PC players instead of the Xbox players, which a lot of the Xbox players are PC now. But yeah, it was cool to see Blizzard separate from Activision. We haven't seen much. There's going to be something I'm going to bring up in a moment that could be the next big thing we see from Blizzard, but nothing really. Toys for Bob became independent. Now, I was kind of looking forward to them sticking as a first-party studio because they could have handled Banjo-Kazooie. Guys. But they just got independence. Their staff and their studio, it got trimmed down. Like, hey, we're not going to pay for the studio for you anymore. You went from like 140 to 80 people or something like that. But guess what? You get to do whatever you want and get to make one game for us. We're going to kickstart your studio by letting you make one game for us. Reportedly, that's Spyro 4. And because that is an Xbox published game, we will get it day one. I'm looking forward to that. I see the messages coming in. I'm definitely going to read these, but unless I see something about a studio, then I'm just going to finish this point and then look at these messages. Bethesda shutdowns. 4 Bethesda studios. I talked about the good. Those are the two goods. Blizzard got separated from Activision. Toys for Bob got to be independent and free from the Call of Duty machine. What did we get in exchange for those two things? Arcane Austin got punished severely for making Redfall. They got shut down. Alpha Dog, which is crazy because Alpha Dog as a studio, that was a studio that could have made mobile games for Xbox alongside King. They got trimmed out. And Roundhouse, luckily Roundhouse, unfortunately their studio got closed, but that's also because it just got merged into supporting like ZeniMax Online basically. And of course, the illustrious Tango Gameworks for making what was probably the, at least for the conversation of, the best Xbox exclusive at the time in 2023, Hi-Fi Rush. They got shut down. Or luckily, somebody else picked them up, but they were gonna get freaking shut down. Not to mention, in the home turf at Xbox Game Studios, the Initiative, this quadruple A studio with a lot of talent in the industry. People from Naughty Dog, people from, I think, I can't remember. There's a lot of big names that joined that studio to make like quadruple A games. They partnered with Crystal Dynamics to work on a brand new Perfect Dark game, the first new Perfect Dark game in like 15 or 20 years, and the project gets shut down. Turn 10, the people that make Forza Motorsport, one of the 4 horsemen for Xbox, turns into a support studio for Playground Games. And Rare, one of the studios that Xbox, I would say of all the studios Xbox has not utilized the IP of and the studio of, it is Rare. And they're working on Everwild for 5+ years, shut down. Not Rare, the studio, Everwild, the project. And of course, more general stuff like, of course, the layoffs, freaking layoffs, which included COD, which is weird because Call of Duty is what makes money. But yet, studios that work on Call of Duty got laid off. In 2024, apparently it was around 2,500 people. 2025, it was part of 9,000. We know it's at least 270 people. We don't know the exact number of like the Xbox teams got hit by that 9,000. That was not all Xbox. That was just throughout Microsoft. But I'm assuming it was a chunk. Like, I would say maybe 500 if we just, maybe more. But point is, a lot got hit. But to kind of sandwich this, I had like 2 goods at the beginning of this and 2 goods to kind of end with it. Playground Games, they're working on Fable, which is supposed to release next year. And Forza Horizon 5 did fantastic in 2021. They got to expand a lot. Their team got to expand a lot. I think they have like 2 or 3 different like studios or places now. And the work culture at freaking Activision Blizzard supposedly has improved. Like compared to the shitty work culture it had before with certain grinds, certain ethics and whatnot. Apparently Activision Blizzard King improved a lot in the work culture, but the morale. Now let's talk about the studios. After hearing all that and kind of like, you know, this overview, like what do you think about the studios and how that went? Because that's something that I think is a little bit fascinating. I think like overall the studios, it's rough, man. Like that's where, to me, probably the biggest blow. Like admittedly, Game Pass, it sucks. But to me, it's like if the studios were thriving, then at least the good games keep coming. I'm skimming some chats now. Paragon, also, wasn't COD meant to release every 2 years? Why are we getting Black Ops 7 1 year right after Black Ops 6? It's making money, man. It's making money. That's what I was also hoping in terms of the game releases. I really hoped Call of Duty, especially if you're going to like let Toys for Bob go independent, you're going to lay off some people from the support studios. Like, just let it be biannual, you know? Like biannual. Like no less, but just biannual, but makes too much money to stop. They released Modern Warfare 3 2023, Black Ops 6 2024, Black Ops 7 2025. It ain't stopping. But yes, Paragon, yes, Tango ended up luckily going to somebody else. Paragon, man, the initiative closing was wild. Paragon, seemingly the Perfect Dark gameplay reveal was smoke and mirrors. That's very back and forth, Paragon. the Perfect Dark gameplay, which it's so crazy that we saw gameplay for that. That's so crazy that we saw gameplay for that and it gets shut down. But as you said, smoke and mirrors. What people were saying is that it was potentially a vertical slice of the game. And what that basically means is that it was a portion of the game created to kind of show off the concepts and whatnot, but it was still a playable concept. As to how strict that sequence was, we do know that it for sure was a playable thing. Like, that was a sequence that people could play through. And it was to, like, represent what the game was going for. But I have other things that I'm going to be saying in a moment. Just regarding studios, I want some of these comments I want to bring back in the overall picture. C2, 11 years for Everwild. I have a bold statement. If Everwild was in development for 11 years, that game deserved to get shut down. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's going to piss off a lot of people. But if Everwild was in development for 11 years and they had barely anything to show for it, that's a problem. But they're a $4 trillion company. They can just spend all the money they want. That's not how it works. Just because your parent, if you're growing up in high school and you like hear there's a potential like trip you could go to Japan for, like, and your parents are doing well, like your parents are actually more of the upper class, the middle class, that doesn't mean your parents are just going to give you $3,000 to go to Japan for a week or two. If your parent company is rich, great, but that doesn't mean they're willing to just fund you forever and ever and ever. And I think that's the problem, is that when $70 billion, the parent gave their kid Xbox $70 billion. If I'm going to give you that money, I need to see what's going on. I need you to prove to me that you are worth $70 billion. And that's why we're seeing a lot of this stuff. But yeah, like C2, I don't disagree. It's just evidence of Microsoft being a bad publisher. It's a good question as to what the duty of a publisher is. I went to a PAX conference, actually, that it was about like various publishers, and they were talking about like what does that mean. And yeah, I would say it does fall on Xbox, because specifically Matt Booty. Like, it's Matt Booty's job to make sure these studios are moving, meeting their deadlines, and so on and so forth. But yeah, like, that shows a problem to the management. Like, okay, so continuing C2's thing. 11 years for Everwild, 7 years of State of Decay 3, 7 years for Perfect Dark. That's wild. That's like, initially when Xbox was on this acquisition spree, I was like, if each of these teams just put something out every 5 years, we're solid. Like, that's going to average out to like 4 to 6 games every year. That's crazy. But when teams are taking that long on a game, something's up. Paragon, yeah, Rare seems to just sustain Sea of Thieves at the moment. Deuce, Raven Software got the benefit from the merger because they were allowed to have a union. Yeah, that's another good point, Deuce. Like there was a lot more unions formed. Like, that's what I mean. The workplace is better, but the morale is so low. It's like, it's a lot better to work here now, but I also, instead of feel like I'm being scrutinized all the time, now I just feel like I have a gun to my head all the time. Like, I don't know what to do. Parjot, I think this is what Microsoft should do. End the day one Game Pass releases. Okay, so Parjot, I want to like come back to that, because we're going to talk about like what Xbox should do going forward. Now that it's been 2 years with Activision, what should they do next? But I'll read this out just in case you leave. I think this is what Microsoft should do. End day one releases on Game Pass and only release the games on Game Pass 120 days after release. Similar to how the movie industry does it. That's an interesting comparison, the movie industry. That's a really cool comparison. That's an interesting idea, Parjot. I want to like... Can I snip that? I want to snip that. That's a good one. Okay. Anyway, so anyways, and old Microsoft whipped Bungie into shape and got them to release 3 Halos in 6 years. I mean, granted, game development in that time was severely different. Like, it's true that the more pixels you add onto a project, the more it leads to games. Just the amount of problems with the scripting, with the rendering, like the amount of pixels truly changes how long a project will take. And so I will defend that things that long ago were very different. There was 2 game developers I talked with at PAX that really explained that, as well as this book I was reading. But I'm sure that, yes, in the 360 days, those people, like the people in charge of the studios, did whip them into shape. I do believe that. But my next point. We talked about Game Pass. So if you're just joining, we're talking about Activision Blizzard 2 years later, joining Xbox, and King joining Xbox. How has it been? We talked about Game Pass. That was my number one thing I was hoping for, and it's been weird. We talked about the studios. And again, it's nice that Toys for Bob gets to be independent and Blizzard is free from Activision, sort of. But a lot of studio shutdowns and closures and whatnot. What about the games? Some would argue that the games, that's all that matters. Like, has the Activision Blizzard games like been good quality, and has the other teams at Xbox been able to still like release stuff or whatever? And so, like, this is a little bit more kind of like big picture Xbox, like just how I do get tired of the narrative. And this is where I'm kind of coming in with a bit of positive. I do get tired of this narrative that Xbox just doesn't release quality games, because that's just not true. We're past that narrative. We're past the whole when are the dominoes gonna fall joke, because that's so over and done with. C2, Obsidian's keeping them afloat single-handedly. Like, Obsidian's killing it. But in the past 2 years, there has been 18 full releases. It's more like 21 if you consider things like DLC, I believe. Yeah, like, so there's been 18 full releases, over 21 if you count DLC. 4 of these releases were Activision Blizzard King, and, you know, 7 of them DLC or whatever. And all these games in this area, like Modern Warfare 3, and that's pretty much it. Everything else, like up to Gears of War Reloaded here, Modern Warfare 3 is the only game that got like a not good score. But everything else here got pretty gosh darn decent reviews. I would personally shout out Indiana Jones is a huge, like, I really do wonder if it's gonna get some Game Awards like acknowledgement this year, because it missed the window last year. Doom the Dark Ages kicked absolute ass. I think Black Ops 6, like, as much as people might like to hate on Call of Duty, that was a great Call of Duty game. It had a really solid campaign, full package multiplayer with either co-op or PvP. And, you know, like Hellblade 2 didn't live up to expectations, but again, as C2 said, freaking, again, starting from here onwards, we're in the year of Obsidian with Avowed, soon to be Outer Worlds 2, and it's missing here, but we got basically Grounded 2 started. So the game releases have been staggering, with 18 of them all reviewing averagely like above 80 on OpenCritic. It's been a really good time. So I do want to praise that. I think my main issue at the current moment is that things have not been teased. You know, like I mentioned earlier, when Obsidian was acquired, they teased Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. When Ninja Theory was acquired, they teased Hellblade 2. We got these glimpses to things that these teams are getting to work on. Playground Games, when they got acquired, they not only released Forza Horizon 5 the year after, they teased Fable. And so it just felt like these studios are getting put onto some big projects, and they're getting to make some big games. And my issue with the Activision Blizzard thing in terms of the games is that we just haven't been getting teased anything. There's no new Spyro. There's no new Guitar Hero prototype. It's just been COD. It's just been COD. They're like, yeah, World of Warcraft from Blizzard shows up in Xbox showcases. Yeah, they're trying to keep Overwatch 2 alive. And yeah, they did release Vessel of Hatred for Diablo 4 last year. Yeah, which was cool. But it just feels like there's nothing really that big that's been teased from all the IP that Xbox got with Activision besides Call of Duty. And that's just weird to me. So, but I do have a feeling the reason for that is I think Xbox is embracing a Nintendo route. I really think they're just trying to tease games that are within like a year of release. I put here, example, Doom in 2024. Last year, one of the coolest parts of the Xbox showcase was when they didn't open with Doom, but they basically opened with Doom: The Dark Ages. They revealed id's next game. It is another freaking Doom game. It's medieval. It's in the old times. And that was sick because not only like did that game reveal, they showed gameplay. It was gameplay and oh, look at the bits of story, little bits of cutscenes. Okay, whew. 2025! And it's just like, oh my God, this is a release date. And that was one of the cool things about that showcase is that they tease things in the future, but also a few things that were close. And then this year's showcase, it was like nothing but stuff that seems like it's within the horizon. And I think that's because they don't want to like say, you know, like they don't want to promise that Perfect Dark is coming out, that Everwild is coming out. They just want to talk about stuff that is, you know, that it looks like it's going to be finished. It's looking good. And I don't know if I mind that. I'm very curious how you feel about that. But to me, when it comes to the overall games, my big thing is that I just wish that by now we would have gotten at least another thing or two teased of all the things that they got from Activision Blizzard. And I just feel like we haven't gotten that. But the games, that's been where it's at to me personally. And I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of splitting opinions. Paragon, it's been good. Black Ops 6, Doom: The Dark Ages, the smaller releases, Avowed, the upcoming ones like Fable. I'm okay there. But I would have preferred to feel hyped again. Paragon plus Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, that's another good shout. C2, part of it is even if it's first party, if it releases on PlayStation, people don't think of it as an Xbox game. I'm about to talk about that, C2. I'm about to talk about that because that's my last talking point before we think about the future. Paragon, I mean, PlayStation's moving. Oh, wait. C2, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Yeah, PlayStation is slowly moving that direction too, but just not as quickly. Zizu. Did I say that right? Zizu. As a tangent, Ninja Gaiden 4 is looking incredible. Ninja Gaiden Purist fans be damned. It does look really cool. We need hype and momentum being carried. It's their task to make sure the game's released no matter what. Well, let's get some yeses or nos in the chat, and it's no belittlement to Paragon here. I like, is it more important for a game to release, or is it more important for a quality game to be released? like if Perfect Dark and Everwild just were not shaping up, you can't just say like, all right, you have a year left to finish it. If it doesn't seem like it's close, then that's not a good idea, because then you'll just get a Redfall. You'll get a Redfall. Halo Infinite is an awesome game, but you could tell it could have used a bit more time in the oven. We don't want to, like, it's like you need to find the fine balance of give the team enough time, but also make sure you've limited the scope of the project so it releases in time. Paragon, in a perfect world, Xbox holds the whip to make sure the studio doesn't fumble. Xbox needs to make sure things fall in line in time. Yeah. I think that's, again, we're talking as consumers. We don't know how it works behind the scenes, but I definitely think it's important to just establish like a solid base where it's like, okay, year one, we have proof of concept. There's playable stuff in this. It just doesn't have any layers on top of it. Cool. Year two, we actually start to put a game together of sorts. Year three, that's the year that we need to see, like, hey, what's the state of this? Like, is this 3 years out or is this 2 years out? Because if it's neither of those, then we might want to backtrack. And unfortunately, we wasted 2 years. Did you Pokemon's budget was like 10 million? Did you Pokemon's budget was like 10 million? I'm assuming, did you see that Pokemon's newest game budget was like 10 million? Probably. I mean, Nintendo keeps their budgets down. Nintendo's doing good. Undisputed Nerd, 2 years later, we all lost. We lost Xbox not being super corporate Microsoft trash. So that makes me eager to get to my next point. Oh, did I not? Okay, I guess I have a couple points. It's like I said, man, I have a lot to say about this. So, I mean, you know, Undisputed, it's like, you know, that there's a lot of people that feel defeated. But I want to like point out the roadmap, you know, like, so we just looked at Xbox Game Pass, the studios, the games, how those have been overall. I would say Xbox Game Pass, C. No, B-. Because the recent news sucks. Okay, the recent news sucks, and that's going to impact the next 2 years. That was like a cap note to the, like, $20 being kind of the regular thing of the 2 years. And the $20 tier the past 2 years, it's been awesome, but it's weird that that backlog didn't get added. The studios, that's been a C. That's been maybe a C-, if not a D, because the whole closures and whatnot, yes, it's cool that freaking Toys R Bob is free and Blizzard's free, but like, and the work culture's improved, but that doesn't change the fact that everybody feels like there's a gun over their heads. They don't know what success is. And of course, a lot of studios getting shut down. And then the games, I would say the games is like B+ or A, like B+, A- area, because we've gotten a lot of them. A lot of them have been quality. And at the end of the day, we are there for the games. If people don't mess with Game Pass, then, you know, you've had a lot of choices first party from Xbox. So that kind of accumulates what, like B, D, A, so like somewhere around like a B-, whatever. But the other thing about these 2 years, analyzing all that, is, okay, what does the future look like? What does the future look like for Xbox? Is there any thoughts about that? Because I have thoughts. Zizu, Xbox is the king of publishing games for specific audiences. They do have very, like, tailored games. Like, games that's not going to be for everybody games. But don't really have those blockbuster titles, exactly. At least not yet. The current news not helping with general PR for any new Xbox games. Yeah, that's always been, to me, my big problem with Xbox is they really, you nailed it, Zizu. Like, they just don't have that big blockbuster title, and some would argue like, oh, that's Call of Duty, like everybody's buying it. That's not like the game that's going to appeal to both the casual and the hardcore and everything in between. And Xbox just hasn't really had that, I feel, yet. C2, Christmas 2026. What's the price of Game Pass in your opinion? Oh, Game Pass should have been what it felt like when it started. $10 a month, old games and indies to discover. And that could still be the thing. Undisputed, that's still a thing, potentially. You just do like the essential or premium, but you're just not getting the day ones. But the premium, you're gonna have a lot of choices in there. But man, C2, I really hate that there's the potential of a price raise. It's like, I want to say, oh no, they're done. They're not going to do that anymore. But you just can't trust these people anymore. I'm getting ahead of myself, but you just can't trust them. Call of Duty Parjot should not be a Game Pass release. You're just leaving too much money on the table. And Paragon, free Game Pass with ads. I also don't like that. I want to come back to that because that's kind of like a whole other topic to me that personally, I don't understand why people don't vibe with it. I'm not saying I like it, but like, I don't understand why there's a problem with it when you are not required to partake in it. And Nerd, I downgraded to Essential, but only because I can't play Helldivers with the bros without it. Yeah. Console gaming, man. We need to get rid of freaking online memberships because we already pay for our internet. But, and C2, one thing I'll say is COD is in Game Pass didn't affect PlayStation and PC sales at all. Oh, no, it didn't. The majority of sales for Call of Duty were on PlayStation. But again, we looked at everything. Now, what is the roadmap? Okay, so like as C2 said, like, what do you think Game Pass is going to be in 2026? And, you know, like the roadmap for Call of Duty, I can't believe this stream has already been an hour. All right. Yeah, it's been an hour. This is what it's looking like. 2026, we're going to have the 25th anniversary, where the 4 Horsemen are releasing in 1 year, if all goes according to plan. Because Fable was supposed to come out this... Can you imagine if Fable came out this year? Jesus Christ! Oh, what a year. I'm telling you, man, 2025, I think, is like the best year. I'm very curious if you would agree or disagree. Oh, like what you think. I would say 2023 was previously the best year for Xbox in terms of the series era, but 2025, strictly looking at the games, their best year. Strictly looking at the games. But next year, apparently could give it a run for its money, because supposedly there's going to be Fable. It got pushed into next year. There's going to be Gears of War E-Day. There's going to be Forza Horizon 6. And somebody that's been with us since the beginning. It's Halo. Like, it's going to be freaking Halo, and we're about to see it, like, next week or whatever it is. But that's crazy that there's going to be, for the 20... That's such a cool thing. For the 25th anniversary, Fable, Forza, Gears, and Halo. For the 25th anniversary. That's a really cool thing. If there's any year I hope Call of Duty takes a break, I hope it's next year. Because I want next... Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. But not only that, let me go through this first. You know, we know that Hideo Kojima's next project with OD. That's another thing that Xbox is working on, and that seems to still be a thing. State of Decay 3... so that hasn't been canceled yet, you know, you never know. But for now, State of Decay 3, Blade, by some would argue the better studio at Arcane, being Arcane Leon, and all that's left of Arcane, unfortunately. But Blade, nonetheless. Elder Scrolls 6. Todd Howard did say, like, we are now, like, full head on heel with Elder Scrolls 6. We got some people supporting Starfield, but that's our next big release. And BlizzCon was canceled this year, but it is coming back next year. They made the full announcement. I think they allowed people to pre-order tickets. And if you don't know what BlizzCon is, it's like the big Blizzard event. That's where they actually have the big Blizzard moments. And I think that's where I'm finally going to get that Blizzard, like, okay, you've been with Xbox for 3 years and you are free from Activision. What are you gonna do? Because Activision influenced a lot of the business decisions that Blizzard had to do. There was still a lot of scummy stuff that Blizzard did, don't get me wrong, but Activision was a big part of that. So with Activision being gone from Blizzard in 3 years there, what is BlizzCon 2026 gonna have? I'm really curious about that, and if, like, even Xbox shows up. So that's some cool stuff too. And plus the Game Pass thing, I appreciate that they're outlining 75 plus games. If you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, which is really freaking expensive, you're going to get 75 day one games. And I can almost guarantee you at least 10 of those games are going to be first party. You know, like we already know freaking the 4 Horsemen. I guarantee you there's another 6 that are going to be first party releases, because Xbox is on that train now. They're just freaking releasing games left and right. It's crazy. So that's what we kind of look forward to in the future. A really cool 25th anniversary year with the 4 Horsemen, Kojima, State of Decay, Blade, Elder Scrolls 6, BlizzCon, and 75 plus day one games if you're an Ultimate member. And of course, the statement from Matt Booty, who he said, there are 40 plus projects still in active development. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, it was when they shut down all the studios and like following the Xbox showcase, and people were like, hey, what's going on after like Perfect Dark got canceled. But he said, we still have over 40 projects in active development. What those projects are, I think that's a great video for another time. Like, I would love to like speculate about that with you. I just love speculating with you guys. If you're watching this stream and you're not subscribed, have I earned your subscription? Have I earned your like? Please do one of those two to do so to let me know. But that's kind of the stuff we have to look forward to. And shout out to the over 20 viewers watching. I appreciate you so much. What is something about like the games or just things in general about Xbox's future you're kind of looking forward to? I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there's also a lot of things to potentially sort of look forward to. Yes, Fusion earlier said that delays are more of a good thing than a bad thing. A delay is a good thing, but too many, what's going on? Obsidian, Suzu, Obsidian Lily put out 3 games this year. What is going on over there? Undisputed, when Xbox has ever delivered on a roadmap without delays. Matt McDonald, hey Matt McDonald, hey GBG. Parjot, just do not have faith in Microsoft delivering with those 4 games. They always found a way to fumble in the end. I disagree. Again, like I did a whole video about this, about the whole, like just the quality narrative and how that's over and done with. And again, of those 18 releases that we had the past 2 years, only a couple of them reviewed like lower than 75. So 70, yeah, 70. So I don't know about that, man. But Deuce 3G, I just want Call of Duty Black Ops 7 to fail, so no more COD for 2026. I hope Call of Duty takes a break in 2026, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they see the machine that it is, and they just ain't stopping. Plus, we need to see whatever Infinity Ward is working on, like freaking Infinity Ward. That's the thing about Call of Duty. You got Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Treyarch. 3 different studios working on Call of Duty games. And I think next year we'll see whatever Infinity Wards is. They're the people that do the Modern Warfare games. Did Blizzard and Activision split? They're just finally more separate now, Fusion. C2, you mentioned Blade. I'd be surprised if that comes out. Yeah, I don't think that's coming out. Yeah, I wasn't listing things that are going to come out next year. I'm just saying like the 4 Horsemen apparently are next year, but we have all these other things that are probably, to me, are going to be released within the next couple years. I think Blade is a 2027 release, personally. It just kind of aligns with Arcane's usual schedule. Paragon, mainly Fable and any secret projects, plus good old faithful, good fully made Halo. Yeah. Matt McDonald's hard to believe. In 9 days, we're going to see the future of Halo. Holy cow. Yep. Zizu, I'm so intrigued to see Blade from Arcane Leon. They have such a talented dev team there. It could be something very special. It could be very special. Arcane Leon, I don't think they've missed. They're the people that did freaking Dishonored 2. They're the people that did Deathloop. They have not missed. A fully made Halo? Such a thing can't exist. And Deuce, here's the thing about Activision, now scared because Black Ops 6 and Arc Raiders are competing with them. Indeed. So, are you going to live stream the Halo thing? Undecided, C2. But, C2 alluded to this earlier. I can't believe how long I've been rambling. How's this going, guys? How you feeling? Are you feeling heard? Are you feeling engaged? I love talking about shit with you guys, but I'd probably been rambling a lot. Parjot lol, if everything went to plan, Bungie would have released Marathon by now. Fusion, I'm having fun. Cool. That makes me happy, Fusion. Oh, I guess I could unpin this comment that I had. So, yeah. C2 alluded to this earlier. The big thing, the big picture thing, you know, I've been talking a lot about the games, but the big picture thing that we need to talk about is exclusives. Like, we got to talk about that. And Undisputed, I feel heard by you. Definitely not by Xbox. Yay! Exclusives at Xbox, like Snake would say about war, has changed. And there's a lot of people that are going to, like, if I put up a poll, you know, there's a lot of people that might say, you know, exclusives are a bad thing. And, you know, they stop me from playing games with my friends, or they stop me from pro-choice and all these things. And they're not wrong. Like, seriously, I could really go either way of the spectrum. And please let us know what you think about exclusives. But that is the big thing that has changed with Xbox. Some are going to go, no, it's always been a thing since they started releasing games to PC in 2015, 16. I can't remember when they started doing it. I feel like Gears of War 4 was the last time. Hard drop my take on exclusives. Here it comes. But that has been the big thing that's changed at Team Xbox. And because of that, that has changed a lot of the fan base. Exclusives were always one of those things that is the reason why you get the console, you know, like, you know, if I'm getting a Nintendo thing because I want to play Donkey Kong Bonanza, I want to play Pokemon Legends ZA, I want to play Metroid Prime 4. Those are things I can only get at Nintendo. And yeah, it's like you're being forced to go there, but it also feels like, you know, that's what Nintendo is. They're Xenoblade, they're Kirby, they're Zelda, you know, like, that's what Nintendo is. It kind of establishes this identity of theirs. And yeah, we look to, like, Capcom and Square Enix, like Square Enix with Final Fantasy and Capcom with Resident Evil. These publishers do have IP that really make them who they are and somebody on the market. But I feel like with the consoles, with the first-party people, with Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, I feel like it's a bit more important because that's what you print on the box. That's what people welcome into their home. They get this system that instead of it being able to play everything, there's these certain games that come to it, like freaking God of War or Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted, Last of Us. When those things come out, it's kind of a moment as a PlayStation person. And not in a way that it's locked, but in a way that's like, when you're in it, that's a moment. That's your ticket to see that Taylor Swift concert that you've been meaning to go to. And it's just something that adds specialness to your purchase, your reason for being there, and something that kind of makes you become a fan of the brand. And ever since Xbox closed Activision Blizzard King, that has changed at Team Xbox. It started in early 2024, I believe it was February, that they had their, you know, business talk where Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, and Phil Spencer were on the stage. And a lot of people like to quote that, where it's like, Phil lied to us, you know, it's like, it's only these 4 games, it's nothing else for now, whatever. He was talking about the plan. He was saying, like, we're going to try things out with these 4 games and see what happens. And they did. And it must have worked out really good, because I think a couple months after, they were probably like, you know, we were debating about doing Indiana Jones because that's a big IP that we actually got exclusivity to. Let's do that. So at Gamescom in August, which was 6 months later, they made it a moment at Gamescom to announce Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will be coming to PlayStation 5 the following year. And from there, it just kept going. You got to see previous exclusive stuff to Xbox, like Forza Horizon 5, one of those 4 horsemen, kick the butts off of everybody on PlayStation sales charts. And you got to see Age of Empires, which is another staple that actually a lot of people underestimate. But Age of Empires, SEC2, that was an all-time brutal moment. It was such a weird moment. Why do they have to make it a moment for that Indiana Jones thing? But Age of Empires is kind of an iconic Microsoft gaming thing. Like, not an Xbox thing, but a Microsoft gaming thing. Because Age of Empires and Microsoft Flight Sim, that was kind of like the PC before Xbox was even a thing. Hey, let's have some games for the computer. And now Microsoft Flight Sim is coming to freaking PlayStation. And it was even announced in a PlayStation State of Play. Hellblade 2 Hellblade 2, which isn't too as much of a blow because that was previously like established with PlayStation and they just got exclusivity with the sequel, I guess, for a year. But the biggie, Gears of War Reloaded. Forza, Flight Sim, Age of Empires, and Gears of War. There are no more red lines. And it just seems like that door's open. Now, you don't quite see everything going day and date. Fusion, if it didn't make Xbox money, then they wouldn't do it, though. But that's where the Activision stuff comes in. I truly believe when Microsoft got involved, they saw just how much money Activision stuff makes. And it's because their stuff is everywhere. And it's like, guys, why are we not doing this? Well, because we need to build our loyalty fan base. Like, but why are we not doing this? And so I think Phil was kind of just forced, like, okay, we'll try 4 games. And I hope they don't work out, because then Papa Nadella is going to attack me. And then they must have worked out. It's like, all right, I do it. Let's like, yeah. So that is the truth. Like, money spoke. Money spoke louder than the fans could. And yet, I don't know. Like, I do think the whole, like, if they acquired something that's multi-plat, I'm very curious where you guys stand on this. Because when Xbox bought Bethesda and when Xbox bought Activision, people were not thinking, like they were debating if it was going to be exclusive. But everybody was saying, if PlayStation bought Bethesda, if PlayStation bought Activision, they would have made it exclusive in a heartbeat. It was only a discussion because Xbox was buying them, right? But because Xbox bought them, we still got to see things that were multi-platform stay. With like Doom the Dark Ages, Outer Worlds 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and 6, Tony Hawk 3 and 4, Ninja Gaiden 4. They didn't buy that, but that's still a first-party Xbox published thing, and they're not making it exclusive. And Oblivion. And Xbox, those are all things that have, established multi-platform releases, and they didn't take that away from PlayStation or Nintendo. Well, I guess mostly PlayStation. Because they had that previous history. But what I do like is that people are like, oh, they just post nothing but multi-platform now. That's not entirely true. Because even just this year, we got Avowed. Avowed is currently not planned to be released to PlayStation. We got South of Midnight, also not being planned to release to PlayStation currently, at least to our knowledge. Keeper, the next Double Fine game that's about to come out like this week, I think, right? Jesus, are you playing that? That's currently Xbox exclusive. Towerborn, that's a partnered first-party thing that's exclusive too. Like, we got a handful of exclusives this year. But yeah, exclusives is just a weird thing. And I do really question the strategy. Like, I really want to know the 4 Horsemen next year. We already do know that Forza Horizon 6, it is launching as a Xbox PC exclusive, but they did confirm that they are working on getting it to PlayStation fans. I had the theory that this was just a way that they could sample their stuff to other markets, that Nintendo and PlayStation people could try out their stuff. And then if they like it, then they could get an Xbox or Game Pass to play stuff. Or buy stuff on mobile if they get cloud working right. But now that theory, I'm a little bit dicey after Forza Horizon 6. Because I don't know how long of an exclusivity window that they're going to give that game. If it's anything like Hellblade 2, then it's just going to be a year. If it's anything like Microsoft Flight Sim, then it's just going to be a year. And that's where I want you guys to come in. C2, exclusives are the true competitor. Hardware specs damn near don't matter. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Fusion, when consoles were $500, I feel like it was just insane hardware value. That alone made it worth. C2, Parjot, release exclusives only on Xbox. keep Game Pass, but release. Oh, this is the thing earlier. Okay, you're bringing it back. We're gonna get to the overall talk in a moment because I do have a plan. I have, in the words of Dutch, I have a plan, and I hope it's what they're gonna do, and that's what I want. That's what like, my final point's gonna be. Nadal uses Revenous Strike. Fusion, it's like how Kirkland makes Coke look like a small company. Nowadays, both Xbox and PlayStation seem to be open to release on PC and even other consoles with stuff like Helldivers. Only Nintendo is now the walled garden. I mean, PlayStation's not quite fully embracing the multi-platform path. Like Helldivers 2, that is probably, yeah, the seed being planted, but I don't think you're going to be seeing stuff like God of War or whatever coming from PlayStation for a while. C2, Sony typically acquires studios that are exclusive to them anyways. The studio that's not like that is Bungie, who is still releasing games multi-platform, so I wouldn't say Bethesda wouldn't as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, we never know. But that's why it's like, I'm not saying people thought if PlayStation bought Bethesda or Activision, it was a certainty that they would make it exclusive. But just, if you had to place a bet, you know, if you had to place a bet, if both Xbox and PlayStation bought a version of Bethesda simultaneously, which would be more likely to make certain things exclusive? It's like my poll this morning. I'm not saying hardware or Game Pass is going to go. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if one was to go, which is more likely. Matt McDonald, feel like Xbox is going to release their games on PlayStation in a similar fashion to how PlayStation releases their games on PC. For Xbox games, studios titles, everything else, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, all day one. That's what I hope too. I really hope the Xbox Game Studios titles, just like that's the exclusive stuff, you know? And you got freaking 15 teams or something like that working on stuff there. And I really hope, yeah, like between Obsidian, Double Fine, Halo Studios, Coalition, Playground Games, like I really do hope those studios are the ones making the true exclusives for Xbox. And then Bethesda and Activision are kind of the money makers, if you will. But yeah. And then Fusion, didn't Insomniac make an Xbox exclusive with Sunset Overdrive? They did. They did. But those are the days that exclusives still matter to Xbox. So, now to kind of land the plane, because I've been going on and on about this. There's this whole talk about Xbox is no longer Xbox. They're Microsoft Gaming. While I do think there is massive truth to that, I would argue the same way that Blizzard became Activision Blizzard, I would actually argue this is no longer Xbox-Activision. This is Activision Xbox. Bobby Kotick was not into Game Pass. He didn't like the idea of it. But in Phil's words, he's not going to be the man in charge. Well, quite frankly, Phil's not the man in charge either. And I think we're kind of seeing a version of Xbox that is more Activision Xbox than Microsoft Gaming Xbox. Because there's been a lot of business moves that just feels like Activision really started to bleed into what Xbox is. And I want to say, like, you know, the next console generation, I don't think it'll happen next year as some thought it would. It's now apparently rumored to be 2027. But comparing, like, going into the Series era, I was all aboard, man. I was, like, super, like putting myself back there. I'm super excited for the Xbox Series era. There's, like, with freaking Bethesda joining the team, and all these new studios that they got and Game Pass. It's just like, it feels like, and the hardware and the backwards compatibility, this just feels like this is going to be a super busy freaking next gen era for me with exclusives and just studios and so much. And now as we get to the end of the era, if it is near the end of the era, and we go into honestly what I think will be just the Xbox PC era, where they have a hybrid console and that's their last big box, and now they have all these teams. It just doesn't feel like Xbox anymore, and it's really hard to kind of be a fan. Because the big thing, and again, it's kind of mostly because the exclusives, admittedly, even like the Game Pass price hike, the studio shutdowns, like all that's been really demoralizing. But I think the exclusives is the big thing about, like, I have this as like the final talking point, but like, what is the must-own reason to own an Xbox right now? You can answer that right now. Like, what is the must-own reason to own an Xbox right now? The biggest reason was Game Pass. Xbox Play Anywhere is really cool too. There is a solid handful of exclusives. But it just doesn't feel like it was going into the Xbox Series era. I see C2 going, there isn't one. Bobby for Halo. I mean, will Halo be exclusive? Paragon mainly, I guess a cheaper PC. Potentially. Yeah, like the next box, that could be a potentially cheap entry. Backwards compatibility. Parjot, backwards compatibility is a great shout. And Fusion, I feel like the UI, to be honest, and also from a hardware standpoint, it's faster than the PS5. Hardware, too. Like, honestly, the console experience gets killed by the handheld and PCs. Like, and that's the thing, like, gets killed by. Like, the thing is that competition just feels like it's at an all-time low. I see Fable's the #1 reason, yeah. Competition just feels like it's at an all-time low for Xbox. It just doesn't feel like they literally just threw in the towel and they just want to make as much money as possible by being everywhere. And because of that, that is going to be like, you just lose your identity. There's this great marketing quote, right? There's this great marketing quote. When you are reaching everyone, you end up reaching no one. And that's kind of what's happened with Xbox. When you try to reach everyone, you end up reaching no one. Now you might ask, like, well, how does that make sense? And it's just basically because when you try to appeal to every single person out there, there's nothing you really stand for. There's not much you stand for. There's not a core fan base that you are rallying. There's not an enemy that you're trying to oppose. You just don't have a firm identity. And I admit maybe that's why people don't stick around to me, is because I'm never like hating on anything and I'm also not bolstering anything. I'm just like such a balanced person. And maybe that's what Xbox is doing. And that's because that's how they're losing their identity. And now I'm realizing, okay, I need to start being a hater on something. But that is like just that's just the thing. It just doesn't feel like there's an Xbox right now. So I want to talk about what could have been after I read a couple more messages. If you're enjoying the stream, leave a like. C2, Halo 7 announced for PS5 at World Finals. No. I swear, man, that better not happen. Master Chief Collection, sure. I'm fine with old games going to PlayStation or whatever, fine, but just like, I don't know, even that feels weird. Fusion, Bobby, agree, I like Xbox controller designs. The controller designs are really good. Ashraf, the library you established since Xbox original. That is a good point too, the past library, C2. Regarding your post today, do you consider Ally X an Xbox console? That's a good question. It's like a partnered hardware thing, but I guess so. Like, that's a tricky one. If I had to say yes or no, man, that's a tough one. What do you guys say? Would you consider, like if Xbox went, and I truly believe this is what they're gonna do, personally, before I say the things that I hope happens next, Xbox is probably gonna go this route of, like, releasing partnered machines. You know, instead of it being in-house machines, they're going to have Lenovo, Asus, and Samsung or whatever make stuff for Xbox. Are those consoles? I guess no, but it's like, what defines a console then? If it's not hardware. Fusion is an Xbox about 2% of Microsoft's earnings, which is still $60 billion. That's how much they spent on the acquisition, so they're out of money. I don't know though, Fusion. But yes, Bobby, backwards compatibility, absolutely. Fusion. Yep, backwards compatibility. Bobby, for me, I just never had a bad experience with Xbox console, so I don't see why I would switch to another console. Yeah, and like, admittedly, as long as Game Pass is a thing, I don't think I'll be able to switch fully to something else. Even though it's stupid expensive now. But Paragon, it is not a Xbox first handheld and more so made by Asus, so no. Parjot, Xbox just can't stick to a strategy. That's absolutely, they can't stick to a strategy. I have a strategy though. I want to pitch them. How do you feel about the next Xbox system not being made by Xbox? Personally, I don't care who makes it. If it's games and is Xbox branded, it's an Xbox to me. Don't care who makes it. And to me, I kind of lean with you, Matt. Like, it doesn't have to be made by Xbox for me to think it's an Xbox. As long as it's branded as an Xbox, I'm kind of cool with it. But it's just no longer like, they're going to have to figure out how the hell to brand those things because they can't. What are they going to do? The Xbox Series S2 360 Double D Jawbreaker. I don't know. Fusion, I doubt Xbox even physically makes the consoles. They probably source it from somewhere else. So the only real difference is a known company is making it instead of an unknown one. Yeah, basically. But here's what could have been. Here's what I want to say. Like, here's what I want to, my next question I want to ask you. If Microsoft did not approve giving Xbox $70 billion, okay, it's more like $69 billion. If Microsoft did not agree to Xbox, you get to have $69 billion. What do you think Xbox could have / should have did? Let's just say, again, it's a hypothetical world. We don't know what would have happened, but just a hypothetical world. What do you think could have happened? Because I have some things I have written here, and I'm curious what you think. So, yeah, there's no Activision deal. The $69 billion, as well as the continuous infrastructure costs of all the new studios and whatever, like, that overhead cost is not added either. So, I'm just going to say hypothetically, you know, that overhead costs and the lack of the deal, they just get to spend another $10 billion on deals, partnerships, maybe another studio or two. Like, it's crazy. Like, I know people are going to get disgusted at me saying this, but they were looking at Team Cherry at one point. Can you imagine? They were looking at even like From Software, CD Projekt Red, Sega as a publisher. Believe it or not, I feel like Sega would have been a cool fit at Microsoft, but, you know, I'm not into it anymore now. But, you know, maybe they just would have did something else with that money. But more to me, I feel like with Bethesda and all the 15 studios they had at Xbox Game Studios, I feel like that was enough. You had like 23 studios doing work. You had a lot of IPs at your disposal. And you could just make some great partnerships. And, you know, PlayStation definitely money hats. You could maybe dive into that strategy a little bit. Now that you have some big IPs yourself. But the main thing is that you would not feel like Bilbo Baggins, where you're spread across too much bread. And that's what Xbox kind of felt like once they got Activision. They were butter spread across too much bread. I don't know if anybody remembers this scene. But that's basically what happened to Xbox once they got Activision. And I do think, however, the actual potential downside, this is going to be crazy, I think there is a good side to Microsoft getting as involved into Xbox as they have. I have a feeling if that deal didn't close, the studios at Xbox would be kicking back and living high. They would just be relaxing and, oh, it's okay. We got all the time in the world, man. Don't worry about it. Like, oh, but the check-in's tomorrow. We'll just tell them we need another few months. Everything's fine. Now wake me up when the fried chicken's ready, whatever. I do think that that's what would have happened if the deal did not close and Microsoft continued just to let Xbox do whatever as a parent, just letting their child do whatever and just spoiling their child. I do think that, like, that is the one potential benefit to this deal, is that Microsoft got involved and they're like, hey, you gotta figure out what's going on at these teams that are taking way too long. Like, freaking, if Everwild or Perfect Dark really did, like, take 10 years, you know, you gotta figure out why the hell that is. I do think, however, more risks would be taken, like things like Pentiment, you know, or Double Fine's Keeper, you know, these games that probably not going to make much money, but you're going to see studios be down to make more of those games because they don't have to make a lot of money, but that also might have meant less profits, you know, and maybe that's why, like, Activision Blizzard King makes a lot of money. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush make a lot of money. So maybe Xbox would not be making that much money, and who knows what would have happened then. But the main thing that I love, that I'm confident would have potentially happened, is there would have been more exclusives and more competition. You saw Indiana Jones, like, they even said in the court cases, like, yeah, we do intend to make that an exclusive to Xbox. And we got to see Starfield, the first new IP from Bethesda, become an Xbox exclusive. You got to see Hi-Fi Rush, Redfall, and just that feeling of, okay, we got the exclusives, man. And I could imagine, you know, like maybe Doom and Oblivion, like Doom and Elder Scrolls, maybe just like a year exclusivity window. Like, play it first on Xbox. They advertise that. Play it first on Xbox. And then it's like a staggered release to PlayStation. Maybe like a 3 to 6 month window, year window at most. But it like comes to Xbox first. That might sound controversial, but I tell you what, if Elder Scrolls 6 or even Oblivion topped the charts in sales. If an Oblivion remake was exclusive to Xbox for 1 year, people would buy the Xbox and people would be like, I'm going to get Game Pass and play that all month. Oh, what else is on this? So that's what I'm curious about. Like, what do you think they would have did if that didn't happen? Paragon, they probably would have looked at expanding through smaller purchases and other expansions. Probably. Yeah, the expansion train probably wouldn't have stopped. And I really wish that they wouldn't. C2, without Activision, their financials will be declining every quarter, so worse things could have happened, but there's no way of knowing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no way of knowing. We're just totally speculating here. But you're right. Like, maybe they just weren't making enough money. WB Games, that was apparently something they were looking at, but especially just making, like, Game Pass deals with them. They had Roblox, Fusion says, on the list a couple years back. C2, Bobby brings up a good point with the entire Halo Studios art team gone now, seemingly replaced by AI. That is not confirmed. That is not confirmed. Just the art director left, and we don't know why until next year when it's safe to do so. But yeah, that definitely is potentially a current thing. Paragon, no more money wasted. It is likely this is somewhat needed to know you could lose it all. And Fusion, the Game Pass price raise is probably going to make them more money. They would need to lose 50% of users, which I'm like 99% sure they didn't. I did the math though, Fusion. I could do the math on screen here. Because I don't know, man. Even if they lost, so like Game Pass subscribers, averagely, I did this whole math in one video, but averagely 55% were Ultimate subscribers. So we're just going to average out the Game Pass subs. We're just going to say $15 a month. And there was 34 million subscribers. Okay. So they make 510 million a month. Okay. Now, and we're going to, yep. Actually, let's type that by 12. So annually, it made just a little bit over 6 billion a year. Okay. Which is funny because actually that's apparently the number that it did reach. So a little bit over 6 billion a year. Now, if 34 million, if a lot of that chunk, let's say 30% of those people left Game Pass, it might be more. But let's say 30% of them left, so only 70% are left. Okay. Oops, I did that wrong. 34, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 times. Why am I doing this wrong? It should be 0.7. 0.7. Yeah, so it's like 70% of that number. There we go. Okay, that's right. 23. So that's how many are left. 23, almost 24 million. And then we times that by a new average. Let's say the average is now 20. I could say 25, but I don't know, man. I'll be generous to say 25. Let's find out. Times 12. That is more money. That is an extra billion a year. But we don't know how many left. There was a lot of people that left, though, man. There was a lot of people that left. But hypothetically, we don't know, though. I don't know if people buy an Xbox for that. 10 people over. I admit, I'm going to ignore the art news because I just haven't heard that yet. But anyway, so, and I'll also talk about Activision here. So anyways, we'll see where this goes, but here's what I hope for, okay? Here's my list of, like, now that we've gone over all the 2 years, this is how I'm going to end my shenanigans and then just see what you guys say from here on out and talk about the art team or whatever, if that's still being discussed. But here's what I kind of hope, okay? I hope that the layoffs and closures end here. You closed a solid handful of teams. You canceled a couple handfuls of projects. And I really hope that ends here. And that they've just murdered as much as possible this year. And they've gotten all the bad news out of the way. So we could just move forward. My number 2 hope. I hope Blizzard shows up. I want to see freaking Blizzard kill it at BlizzCon. I want to see freaking the next Diablo 4 DLC announced. I want to see something else teased. It would be crazy if World of Warcraft was announced for the Xbox console. And I tell you what, if they added World of Warcraft, I wonder if they're trying to future-proof this, where it's like Ultimate is really expensive right now, but we are going to add World of Warcraft to that subscription. That would be a cool announcement, but I hope BlizzCon really kills it. I hope exclusives still exist, that we still get South of Midnights, that we still get Avoweds, and currently that we still get Fables and Gears of War E-Days and so on. Who knows? But I hope exclusives still exist. They don't have to all be exclusives, but just make like at least a third of your releases every year. If you have 12 releases every year, make at least 4 of them exclusive, 4 of them big multi-platform releases, and then 4 maybe like some lower key whatever games or something. I really hope management's improved. I really hope that freaking Matt Booty and everybody else working under him, like they all just have figured out, hey, we need to be on these teams and not tell them what game to make, but give them firm, like, this is what we can do, guys, and this is how much time and budget you have to do it. I really hope, this is actually probably one of my biggest hopes, that owned IP get acted upon. Where is Spyro 4? Where is Banjo-Kazooie? Where's Prototype? Where's Guitar Hero? Where's all these IP that you're just kind of sitting on and not doing anything with? I want to see that over the next 2 years. I really hope we get to see, and I'm confident in this one I'm for sure we're going to get, like, we see a first party release every month or two. We're going to, and that would have been, you know, like an Xbox exclusive every month or two. but now it's just a first party release, which I'll take. You know, that'll justify Game Pass more. Speaking of Game Pass, I really hope Xbox adds a mid-tier for Ultimate. If they did that, everybody, I feel like, would come back, or at least a lot of the cancellations would come back. Not all of them, because, you know, a lot of people got hurt by that price raise. But if they just added that middle tier that you're not forced to pay for Ubisoft, Fortnite, EA, potentially Warcraft or whatever, just let people do the day ones, that'd be so awesome. But I don't believe that one, but I hope for it. I really hope the 75 plus day ones have some really notable $70 partners, not just like the first party releases, but I really hope you see stuff. I'm going crazy here, so I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, for example, I really hope we see at least like every quarter a Kingdom Hearts 4, a Capcom's Pragmata. I don't know what the next, like, the next Mortal Kombat. You know, like just something big every quarter of the year. That's like a $70 game. Like, imagine like if Battlefield 6 launched day one on Game Pass. That would be such a huge moment, you know? And like, I just hope with those 75 plus day ones, they don't have to all be that, but at least like, you know, a tenth of them are some big games. I really hope Cloud works out for the Easy Gateway sampler. I saw the complaint earlier about like, I don't like that they're doing a free ad-supported Cloud thing. I disagree with that. I think that is a cool, hey, try this out. And if you like it, then you could buy the big thing. It's free. What is there to complain about? You don't have to pay for it. You're not being forced to do anything. It's an optional thing. If you already have Game Pass or if you already have xCloud, then you don't have to worry about it because you get the actual thing. The Cloud thing is just a sampler, and I kind of do hope it works out for them, because if it does, then just more people get to play games, and that's a way that people get to, you know, jump on it. Like Fusion's saying, I like the ad-supported cloud gaming. If you don't like it, then just don't use it. The options are always a win. Options are always a win. And yet I'm a man that's rooting for exclusives. I hope Halo Studios turns the ship around and Toys for Bob makes Banjo-Kazooie next, baby. Like, come on. No, I do think, by the way, 2026 for Xbox is going to be crazy. I have a feeling they're getting a lot of bad news out of the way, because this is what they do. They get bad news out of the way, and it's followed by some good news, aka October releases. There's probably going to be a bad news thing in January, and then the developer direct is going to hit. And I do think we're going to see Toys for Bob's game next year, Spyro 4. And after that, you know, they did say that they want to work on the Bird and Bear. And man, I really do hope Halo Studios turns the ship around. That'd be really cool. But most of all, I hope that next year for the 25th anniversary of Xbox, that they lay out their future plans, man. That it's their 25th anniversary next year. 25 years of Xbox. What do you like that's the opportunity to really establish this is what we're doing, you know, like this is what we're going to be doing over the next 25 years. 25 years is a big number. That's a quarter of a century we will have had with them, of all these IPs coming to them and being raised by them. The four horsemen, the four founding IPs, I would say, coming out the year if it works out. And excuse me, I think that's a year that you could really potentially get people's trust back, that you could really establish, you know, like we have all these games coming out. This is how we stand on exclusives, you know, like we're going to define this for you now, where after a year, you know, they give a specific thing instead of case by case scenario. No, they define, you know, like after a year with us, they could come to other consoles. And this is our next gen system. It's not coming out this year, but we're teasing it. Here it is, or whatever. And it's going to be coming out next year. And just giving absolute clarity on their 25th anniversary. This is the future of Xbox, because that is where everybody is confused right now. They see these Target and Costco, Walmart, whatever situations, people see this Game Pass cancellation page crashing. They see all the studio layoffs. They're uncertain about the future of Xbox. So next year, you gotta just, I hope they got all the bad news out of the way. They lay out a shit ton of games coming out, and they establish, this is our next console coming. This is our plan with exclusives. And this is clarity on what we're trying to do. And that's my biggest hope that I hope we see in over the next 2 years after this Activision deal. Cheers. What are your big hopes? I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. Oh my God. Matt McDonald, I canceled my subscription, but mostly because I'm playing Switch 2. I'll sub again in 2026 when the 4 Horsemen come, or something I want to play. Yeah, admittedly, I unsubscribed from their reoccurring subscription too. I did, however, like pre-buy a solid, like, double-digit number of Game Pass Ultimate codes, so I just intend to punch those in, the $20 area ones, when I feel like something's good coming. Fusion, Blizzard does good at one thing in particular, cinematics. Oh my God. Blizzard is god at animations and short films. Get Blizzard to work on some cool marketing material, man. Bobby, Keeper and Grounded 2 is exclusive this year. Yep, exactly. Goddamn Dan. Unfortunately, with Microsoft, not Xbox, in charge, yearly layoffs are going to be expected. Yeah, probably, but we'll see. A boy can hope, right? Isn't Premium just a midterm of Ultimate? Premium is essentially what PlayStation Plus Extra is, where you get like a solid couple hundred games of a backlog to play, and it's a good deal cheaper. Ashraf with our MVP super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much for spreading the love. I really appreciate that so much, sir. I hope you've lurked in this discussion and it was interesting to you. So thank you so much, Ashraf, MVP of the stream. Everybody do a little clappy clap. Wait, I got one. Hang on. Hang on. Ashraf gets a nice. Yeah. Let me see. Fusion, does Toys for Bob do anything other than Banjo? I don't know much about them. No, I mean, they haven't done anything with... No, they're not... Banjo-Kazooie is a rare IP, but I just think that Microsoft should partner with Toys for Bob for them to make a Banjo-Kazooie game, because this is the studio that made the Spyro Reignited trilogy, the Crash Bandicoot trilogy remake. They also made Crash Bandicoot 4. They're like the perfect studio for it. And they literally expressed interest in doing it too. So. Parjot. Gots to go. I still think the 100... Yeah, so I want to shout out Parjot's plan. Can I even make it sort of full screen here? So I did clip this. It's pretty tiny. Sorry about that. Oh, wait, can I magnify? I'm on Windows 11 now, guys. Well, I'll read this. It basically says, Parjot earlier, I think this is what Microsoft should do. End the day one on Game Pass releases and only release games on Game Pass 120 days after release, similar to how the movie industry does it with home release. This is actually a really good plan. I think as much as I'm going to miss the day one releases, I don't know. I feel like I could live with 120 days. Like, what is that? That's like 4 months, basically. Yeah, I'm going to miss the day one, but it's like, if that's what they got to do, then that's what they got to do. A baby's got to do what a baby's got to do. And I don't, the hard part is if they get rid of the day one thing, that's the big thing that Xbox has become known for. You know, day one game on Game Pass, that's the thing that Xbox has gotten known for. So it's going to be pretty hard for them to walk back on it. But I think that's a sound business plan. If I was completely throwing my, like, me as an Xbox player out the window, that's a good plan. Like, if I was a businessman, That's how you make money. But I don't know. Fusion, in terms of games, I feel like Xbox has done really well lately. They have, man. Like, that whole quality-quantity narrative is over for Xbox. Like, they've just been releasing games up the wazoo. Fusion and C2 bring up that Xbox roadmap. Love a roadmap. Yeah, they just... I'm okay if they only talk about stuff that's within the year of release, or within a year or so of release, but it's just the big picture. They need to lay out their big picture and what they're trying to do, and the clarity, just so much clarity on things, because we just don't have that. Zizu, just imagine Prototype 3. It's a soft reboot. Alex Mercer somehow has a son figure, and you play from a zoomed-in third-person camera and cinematic sappy storytelling. It's just called Prototype. Ah! I want it so bad. I want it so bad. I feel like they need to partner with the studio, though. I don't feel like any of their in-house studios would do a prototype for some reason. Matt McDonald, my biggest hope is that Halo 7 is announced at the World Championships, and my other hope is that I can play as a male in Fable. Also, please don't cancel State of Decay 3, Microsoft. I promise. It will do big on PC. Dude, State of Decay 3, yeah, I know a lot of people that are like, that is a cult thing. Like they're really hoping that State of Decay 3 comes out and it does well. I'm a little bit worried if we don't see anything about it next year, but I feel like I did this in I did a video about like Xbox in 2026. I did that video last year, I think. And I'm pretty confident State of Decay 3 is going to be releasing next year, the year after. Because if it doesn't, might be in trouble. But yeah, Halo 7, we'll see. I don't know. I'm going into that World Championship moment with no expectations. I don't like building it up. I don't like that people are building that up as much as they are. I don't like it. I don't want to treat this like it's gonna be a big moment or something. I don't know, but the community is. And I am 100% with you about the male. Like, Fable should let you choose if you are a male or female. Absolutely. I don't like the idea that they kind of force you to be one or the other. Yeah, I really hope that's the case. And God, can you imagine a developer direct in January since they're revealing the Halo project, you know, in next week or next weekend? Can you imagine the developer direct next year is for Gears of War E-Day, Forza Horizon 6, Fable, and the Halo game? Oh, that'd be so cool. That would be so cool. But I don't think, I think they said that you'll find out more about Forza during the spring. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to get that. C2, let's say Game Pass was at 30 million at 20 bucks. What do you think they're at now? Let's say Game Pass was at 30 mil at 20 bucks. What do you think they're at now? Well, they did confirm numbers last year, C2. They said that they had 34 million subscribers. I definitely think they lost a solid chunk of that. I think that they took a big dip. I don't think it's as big as everybody thinks it is. I think like 20 to 30%. I don't think like everybody just left. But yeah, I would say they're in like the high 20s now, maybe, if that. Yeah, maybe like 29 million. Maybe day one on Game Pass, but not PC Game Pass. No, PC Game Pass, they can't let that go, because I really think Xbox is trying to reach. They're acknowledging that Nintendo and PlayStation just control the console market, and they're doing their best to appeal to Steam. Like, if they're trying to combat anything, it's Steam, which good luck with that. But like, they're just trying to become an ecosystem that can be in the PC space, which is growing so much faster than console is. Like, there was a report actually recently that apparently the Steam player base has like doubled over the past 5 years. They had like a peak concurrent count of like 47 million players. That's crazy. So PC is growing a lot faster than console is currently. I didn't know that I had an acronym. Okay, Paragon. Fable seems to be using character creator, right? We don't know that yet. Paragon. Fusion, doesn't PC Game Pass have some exclusives that's not on console Game Pass? Yes, they both have things that are exclusive to each other, or to themselves, I should say. But they, for the most part, it's the same. But yeah, there's some things that are only, like, take PC StarCraft. StarCraft 1 and 2 is exclusive to PC Game Pass because it's not on console. So C2, if they only lost 6 or 7 million, then they're making more money now than before. Yeah. That's true. It just depends if, like, yeah, like I don't think that their revenue went down immensely. It just depends on how many of the Ultimate people stuck around. It really just depends, because if the Ultimate people got trimmed down to half, then they're basically making the same money that they did before. But here's the genius of that strategy. Again, you know, obviously I'm not happy about the $30, but again, if I take the consumer out of it and just think like a business person, that's fine. Because if they lost like 50% of their Ultimate subscribers, cool. Those hypothetically, what's half of 34 million? 16, 15, somewhere around 15 million. So and half of 15 million would be 7.5 million. So let's say 8 million. If 8 million subscribers left Game Pass Ultimate, then that's 8 million people that are gonna buy their games. Like, are they all gonna do that? No, but these are people that are no longer gonna be able to use Game Pass to play Call of Duty, to play Elder Scrolls, to play Doom, to play Minecraft, to play whatever, Fallout. Like, they're just gonna buy the games now, to which Microsoft's like, you know, we'll get that money back and then some. It's like, it's a genius thing when you think about it business-wise, but it's just unfortunate for us. So, yeah. So enjoy while it lasts on PC, guys. Yeah, PC guys, you got it made. Game Pass is killing it. But yes, money talks. Money talks. But yeah, overall, we've been streaming for way too long, and I appreciate folks listening to this. I hope this was engaging. I really did not mean for this to go on for this long, but as you could tell, I have a lot to say about it. And I really hope we're over the hill. I really hope that we've gotten all the bad news out of the way. And I hope they kill it next year, man. I listed all the hopes for you, but I really hope next year is like, just look at all these games, look at these, we do have exclusives, more clarity on things, and BlizzCon, man, like BlizzCon could be a moment to finally see Blizzard become, because that's the thing. I feel like Bethesda has become part of Xbox. I don't feel like Activision Blizzard has become a part of Xbox. That's why I feel like it's Activision Xbox instead of Xbox Activision. But I hope that changes next year. So we'll see. In the future, I might have to like lock down this week to really get a lot of work done that I fell behind on because my power went out. So I don't know if I'll have another stream or content this week. There is a short that I am waiting to post. I'm just not sure when. So yeah, if this is the content of the week, then this is the content of the week. And I appreciate you hanging out with me. Fusion, Paragon, Ash, C2, Matt McDonald, and many more. There's many people that swung by. Supertone, Parjot. So many. Zizu, Bobby, so on. Final comments. Because I'm going to go. I should make dinner. Fusion, something I always say is you should never, ever have a feature or always have it. Wait. Something I always say is you should either never have a feature or always have it. Never take away something like Netflix password sharing. Never take away something. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard, man. Alex W Stream, thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate that, man. Matt McDonald, Activision need to drop all their backlog into Game Pass for them to feel like they're part of it. 100%, Matt. 100%. Until that happens, it's so weird how they're handling that back catalog. I am so like, if there's, this might sound really selfish, but that's the biggest problem to me. That's the biggest one. I can't believe that back catalog hasn't been added. Anyway. C2, here's hoping Halo looks good. Here's hoping. Every Guitar Hero. But, I mean, it doesn't really... Guitar Hero is kind of... it gets a pass because you can't really play it if you don't have the controller. And the controllers aren't manufactured anymore, so they get the pass. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't a thing. Matt, like, I was expecting to have played every COD campaign via Game Pass by now. Same, Matt. Like, that's exactly... I thought the same thing. I really wanted to play, like, every freaking... I was looking forward to all the COD campaigns. Fusion, I have one, though. Well, I mean, good for you, but not all of us do. But that would be cool. Zuzu, just give me Prototype 3 and New Vegas Remastered, please. Thank you. Stay tuned about that New Vegas Remastered, because I feel like there was rumors of something, question mark. But, yeah. I do hope on the Activision side, Blizzard impresses next year at BlizzCon. We get to see Toys for Bob and Spyro 4 revealed. And, that's probably it. I don't really know what Activision could really do to... Yeah, I won't really care if we see a new COD. Just add that back catalog. All right, gang. I'm going to go. This has been a very long stream. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you are having a Geek Proud Awesome week. And I really do. I'm glad that I got to be with you for a while. So I appreciate you. I'm not looking at those leaked shots, Matt. I don't like to look at leaks, so I'm not doing that. But I appreciate all y'all. Have a good night. Be geek, be proud. Be awesome.